Good morning. Hello, and welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Jeremy Hone, and I'm very excited for another AMA with VeeDao today. We're speaking with Tyler Hobbs. If you haven't heard of Tyler Hobbs before, he's a visual artist currently in Austin, Texas, and he's most well known for his collection called Fidenza. He's one of the earlier artists in the space to work with generative art and taking the human creative mind and pairing it with digital algorithms. So, very excited to talk to him about his journey. His collection, Fidenza, is widely known and sought after as a grail of sorts. There's 1,000 pieces currently sitting at a 70th floor, and I can actually show them to you quickly here. They look a little something like this. And so I'm very excited to speak with him about his process. He has this he has this product called the core algorithm, the flow field, which is his design, and so when I say like the collaboration between human and computer, I don't know how much a computer was involved in creating this, but this is some kind of base, like the core algorithm, which yields Fidenzas. And I'm just really looking forward to it. He's such an incredible force in the space. I've heard his name many a time, and I'm excited to hear, about him, his journey, and what he's looking forward to next. So I'm going to jump into Twitter Spaces. So I apologize for the sound being out of sync. Basically, I will mute my microphone and I will speak to Tyler through my phone on Twitter Spaces. And so what that means is there will be a delay, and I'll put up a little banner for people who don't get that message so that they're aware. Haven't yet found a better way of doing this, but we want to be on Twitter Spaces for the discoverability of everything. We are going to be taking questions at the end, so if you want to jump into the Twitter Spaces, feel free to do so. I'm going to jump in. Actually, let me reset my phone really quick so I don't rug. So I'm going to jump into the Twitter Spaces now. And going to VeeDao. You can join the spaces as well by going to VeeDao. So I'm popping in, and then I'm going to go join here on Twitter and refresh. And I should have a spaces. Nope. How can I join this spaces? Here we go. Okay. I'm going to mute myself now. See you soon. Hey everyone, how we doing? Can y'all hear me?
I hear you good.
Can I get some emojis? Yeah, what's up, Eric? Hey, Braden, Eli. Colin, I think you have a bit of an echo.
How's that now?
It's good. It's good.
Good.
Wow, this is going to be so fun. Very, very excited. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. We're going to be speaking with Tyler Hobbs, the creator of Fidenza and many other artworks. My name is Jeremy. We're coming to you from the VeeDao. If you're not familiar with the VeeDao, it's a community of art collectors that are passionate about VeeFriends and collecting other blue chip NFTs. You can learn more about us in our Discord. I won't shill too much here. These AMAs are really designed to get personal with artists that are in the space, creators, developers, and all the rest. We hope this can provide some education and insight into the types of paths towards success. I don't know what brought Tyler to the place that he's in now, and I'm really looking forward to hearing that. But he must have started somewhere, and so very excited to sort of dive into that creative journey with him. And look, here he is. Hey, good afternoon, Tyler.
Hello, Jeremy. How's it going?
It's going really good. Yeah, I'm thrilled that you're here.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate you having me on, and I'm looking forward to talking about artwork. So,
Yeah. Well, just to give you a little context, we host these AMAs for the community to, provide insight and education. I like to get like into backstory and like journey. It's so fascinating to me. If someone were to Google your name now, one of the first things they'd find is your Fidenza collection with an incredible Ethereum price floor. But every artist starts with a curiosity and a creativity. So I wonder if you would share with us, like, when did your relationship with art begin? Are you the kind who's been
yeah,
drawing since you were a child, or did you pivot
yeah,
into it later in life?
yeah. Absolutely. I'd love to talk about that. Yeah, I think growing up, I definitely always drew quite a bit. I was not any sort of prodigy, right? I wasn't like Picasso making amazing paintings at age like 5 or 6. Um, I would say I was like maybe a little better than average, but not nothing crazy when I was younger. But I did really like to draw, and I did it a lot in my free time. And it was just I always found it to be really relaxing, and just kind of let your imagination run wild.
Mm,
And I think my parents, noticed that I did really enjoy it, and so I'm very lucky that they helped get me into some after school programs with local artists who kind of taught me how to paint and helped to expose me to more of the art world, and uh, yeah, really benefited a lot from that kind of instruction in my early teen and teenage years. Um, that's really how I started to get more serious about it, and to get real deep into artwork.
yeah, amazing. And where does what came first? Was it your awareness of crypto and blockchain, or algorithms and generative art?
Yeah, so algorithms and generative art came much earlier for me. So I first started um, experimenting with generative artwork in 2014, and but prior to that, I had been really just focused on drawing and painting, but sort of stumbled into generative artwork, which I had studied computer science in
Ah,
college, and
okay.
yeah, I was working as a programmer. So programming was already a really big part of my life, and so I was like looking for ways to involve that in my artwork and to kind of combine those two worlds. And generative art is what I came up with. Um, and so yeah, 2014 started making generative art, and just really enjoyed it. It definitely clicked for me, and so I was pretty much heads down on doing that for the next few years. Made kind of hundreds of pieces over the next few years, and um I was selling that work as unique prints. So I'm making digital
Yeah,
work. Selling prints is probably the easiest way to kind of earn a living as an artist, and so that was my best approach. And because generative art allows you to sort of easily produce a lot of unique images, it made sense for me to produce unique prints.
right.
For many years, I sold unique prints through my site. That's how I supported myself as an artist. And then, of course, I heard about Bitcoin and blockchains and all that. As a programmer, I had sort of a vague awareness of those things, but they never interested in me too much artistically until early 2021, and that's when like everybody I knew started DMing me and saying, you got to check out NFTs. Your work would be great to combine with NFTs.
Right. It was a natural
And
pair.
yeah, and I was like a little bit skeptical. of NFTs, but the thing that really did it for me was seeing art blocks in that whole model of how it can really perfectly pair with generative art in particular. And that model just made a lot of sense to me. Also, just getting to know the community a little bit better. Like I got into the Art Blocks Discord, and just seeing how people talked about the artwork and thought about the artwork and collecting it, just made the whole thing really make sense for me, and it really clicked. And that's when I decided that I definitely wanted to get involved in that.
Yeah, I wonder if you could talk about that a little further. When you were selling your prints, what was your relationship like with your collectors, and how has the sort of emerging Web3 space changed that?
Yeah, it's definitely changed it. You know, even when selling prints, though, knowing collectors, talking to collectors, is really important.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of my sales came locally here in Austin, where I live, because that's where I would be showing work, and I would be able to connect with those collectors one on one, and really explain to them what the work was that I was doing, because generative art's a new concept for a lot of people, often requires explanation. And so I was able to, develop a good relationship with quite a few collectors who really supported my work back in those days. And now it's changed, you know, uh, being in sort of Web3 land, right? I have a different relationship with the collectors. It's like a much more broad relationship. Unfortunately, I don't have as much time to go super deep with the majority of my collectors, but I do get to know a lot more people, and I kind of get to really, like, I benefit a lot from the things that my collectors expose me to, right? Like they're showing me other great artists, other great artwork, opportunities, all these things that are just so amazing as an artist to see that kind of support from your collectors.
Amazing. Well, I definitely want to talk about your recent showing at Sotheby's, and go deeper into like what you've got going on now. But for the benefit of the audience, can you, in your own words, just tell us, like you said, it requires explanation. What is generative art?
Sure.
And is there a definition that, beyond the technical definition, is there something that you see it as that's beyond that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think generative art is really the practice of making artwork via a process or a system. And the artist is specifically choosing to remove themselves somewhat from the final product, and to leave that in the hands of, randomness or artifacts of the process. I specifically make algorithmic artwork, which means I'm using code and algorithms to create that artwork. So simplest version of that is I write a program that generates an image. That's usually the brief way for me to explain it. But generative art doesn't have to happen via an algorithm. There's actually a lot of interesting ways you can make it, manually through sets of instructions for a person to follow, for example, or through mechanical processes. But algorithmic art is really most of what we see that people are referring to when they talk about generative art. But yeah, it's a really fascinating way to work. It's a very big mental shift from, if you come from the world of drawing or painting, where you're used to thinking about constructing one image as well as you can. When you switch to generative artwork, that model instead is, you start to think about the entire space of potential output from the algorithm. You're really designing the whole space rather than a single image. And so you have to think a lot more about, how do I take these like aesthetic concepts, how do I take these things that I like and abstract them successfully into a more broad system.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so fascinating to me, because the idea of taking a system and pairing it with the creativity of the human mind, like it's sort of like throws all the rules out the window, in a sense. Like, you can it's set it and forget it is the wrong phrase that's coming to mind, but I think in art, regardless of your medium, we talk a lot about discipline and refinement, and in this circumstance, you sort of make a choice, and then allow your partner in the system to show you what you've created. Like, I'm scrolling your Fidenza page, and if anybody wants to see these images with me, it's a couple pins back, the website. Oh, thank you, Logan, for pinning all this beautiful art. Can you explain to me a bit more about the flow field? I love this image. I mean, I'm sure you agree it's art in itself. Like,
right.
I take it you coded this, and what does that process look like?
Right. Okay, so flow fields are a technique that I use a lot in creating my generative artwork, and they are specifically good for constructing sort of randomized, unpredictable, curvy lines, but specifically ones that have just this really nice flowing nature, and they don't collide, and so they're kind of particularly harmonious.
Yeah, they're very pleasing to the eye.
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah. So, for me, flow fields, I first started kind of playing around with them. I think it was like 2016 or so. I kind of had a little bit of an idea around that to experiment with. Certainly not a completely novel idea. It kind of has roots in many other things, but for me, that was a really important discovery, because it's just such a flexible kind of algorithmic building block that I can use to construct these types of curves. And computers love to draw straight lines, right? Like in boxes and rectangles and grids. Computers are great at doing that. It's very easy. But coming up with nice curves is actually pretty hard to do in a general programmatic way. And so flow fields were something that really helped me to create a more organic look in my artwork. And I've used them in a couple of hundred pieces of artwork, and I've also written about them, documented kind of how to use them, which I think has also helped to make them a bit more popular within the generative art world.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you for that. So let's flash forward a bit. Forgive me for not knowing, but was your auction at Sotheby's a few weeks ago? Was it your first time at the Sotheby's auction house?
Yes, I think so. So there was like an earlier set at Christie's, which is sort of the other major auction house, that was a set of art blocks pieces. I think it was like all of season 3 or something like that, and so there was a Fidenza included in that. But this with Sotheby's, this was definitely unique because they approached me to pitch the show to me, and I created new work specifically with this in mind. It was the first time that I was the one auctioning the work off, and so in that regard, it was definitely a big first for me, and I couldn't pick a better inaugural show to do that. It was wonderful because it celebrated some of my favorite contemporary artists in the generative scene, as well as some of the amazing pioneers that started doing this work back in the late 60s and early 70s. So people that are my heroes, and so it's really wonderful to get to be included in the same show as them. It's really an honor.
Yeah, I wonder if you can talk about that more. Like, how does it feel to be one of the most lauded contemporary artists of this digital age? I know that might be a lot to hear, but like, I entered the space a year ago, and I think I encountered your name in the first week or so. Like, and I don't know how much you're collaborating with some of these other recognizable names, but it really feels like I look to you as one of these pioneers. Not to put too much pressure on you, but it's just so impressive to me. Like, congratulations, but also, like, what is that like? Like, what what kind of pressure goes on
Oh,
you
yeah.
when you're thinking about a new piece and stuff like that? I'm sure people will be very
Yeah.
curious to hear.
Yeah, I mean, it's a strange experience to be honest. It's I'm in a very different place now than I was a couple of years ago. Everything that I do is much more public now, which is
Mm,
definitely one of the things that's hardest to adjust to. I don't know. I'm an introvert. I really prefer for the art to speak for itself. I really
mm,
don't actually feel that comfortable being the center of attention, and so it's a little bit unusual for me to kind of be in this position. But there's just so many wonderful things that come along with it. There's so many opportunities for me to create new work, to show my work, to collaborate with other amazing artists, uh, to learn from so many people that wonderful people that I've gotten to know. Yeah, I've had so many opportunities to travel, and just yeah,
mm.
it's really incredible how many how many things I can be grateful for at this point. But no doubt it's also very like challenging and stressful at times as well. It's not easy either. So it's a really intense mixture of things, and every day there's something new. So I just
Mm.
kind of try to take it one day at a time and do as well as I can. That's mostly all I can do.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good transition, like to talk about the art. And beyond letting it speak for itself, like, can you give us a little insight into Careless and Well Intentioned?
Yeah.
Um, who was involved in the process, and what was I almost stopped myself asking, because like, to ask what is the inspiration for the art sort of like
Yeah.
it impedes the conversation of like, how does the art speak to you? But
Right.
I'd be curious to know, like, if you have a goal in the creation of the art, or if it's an
Hmm.
idea that you're expressing, or how do you
Yeah.
work?
Yeah, that's a wonderful question. I'm glad that you phrased it that way because yeah, you're right. You started to talk a little bit about inspiration, and I think people often have the idea that the artist, gets the inspiration for the work, and then their job is just to kind of sit down and try to make that inspiration happen as best as they can. And
Mm,
um, for a lot of artists, that's not really how it works. And for myself, that's definitely not how it works. I have found uh, it to be much more productive for me to go into a work with an open mind as to what the work will end up being.
mm,
It's much easier for me to just pick a definite starting point and have no strong opinions about where it's going. So for example, what Careless and Well Intentioned, I had developed um, this sort of style and algorithm while I was working on a previous project called Incomplete Control. And oftentimes, when I'm working on a project, I kind of come to a fork in the road where I can kind of see two different directions that the work could go. It could, stylistically, it could go to the left or to the right. And
mm.
I had one of these kind of fork in the road moments with Incomplete Control. I decided to take it in this very soft and messy direction. But what I left unexplored was this sort of stronger, more graphical option with bolder colors. And so I really felt that branch of the algorithm deserved to be fully explored as well. And so for Careless and Well Intentioned, that was kind of my starting point. Was I want to take this branch, I want to just walk down this road and see if I end up with anything that I really like. And yeah, I was really pleased with it. Like I said, I didn't have a goal, but I'm at every step of working on a piece of artwork, I'm making judgments about, mostly intuitive judgments about, do I like this or not? Do I like it when it does this kind of thing,
Mm.
or this kind of thing more? And I'm just gently pushing it in uh, a new direction, one step at a time, based on what I'm feeling at that moment.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I appreciate that that the relationship you kind of described. There's a conversation between you and your partner, and you're shaping this algorithm. Um, I have a background as a performance artist, so the relationship to the audience is like my biggest
Oh,
asset. You know, like when we're
yeah.
talking about rehearsing theater, or I've done a lot of street performance, it's like it's great to talk about what it is now, but the missing ingredient is always the audience. And I think to a large degree it's true of art as well, right?
Hmm.
What is art for if not to like be received, digested, you know, whatever adjective
Absolutely.
you want.
Yeah.
Hopefully it evokes something.
Right. Yeah. The work is only, some say that, the work is only half complete when it sort of leaves the artist's hands. It's completed by the
Mm,
viewer, or the reader or the listener in their minds, right? Because everything that they know and that they enjoy and or don't enjoy, uh, everything from their mental context influences how they view the work, and so everybody has a very different experience looking at the same work.
yeah.
So yeah, the viewer, the audience is a super important um, part of the work itself.
I wonder if people ever look at your work sort of like I think I'm saying this correctly, the Rorschach ink
Yeah.
blots.
Uh
Because
huh.
I'm looking at Careless and Well Intentioned #1, and I just
Yeah.
can't stop thinking about San Francisco buildings. You know, like the
Yeah.
colorful. And I'm sure I'm not the only one, but I'm sure I'm also like in a minority. Like that just comes to mind, like through the colors I'm seeing.
Yeah.
I imagine there's that kind of interpretation. You get a lot of response in terms of like I
Oh
see
yeah.
this or I feel this. I'm reminded of this.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And it's wild. How different those things can be.
Mm,
I talk a fair amount about. I'll have people from different fields, right? Different fields of work that come up to me and talk to me about how my work reminds them of. They're a geologist, they see geographic strata in there. If they're a chemist, they see test results from a particular type of chemical analysis. If they're
uh,
neurobiologist, they see something about neural connections in the brain. It's really amazing. I think abstract art in general has the power to do this, but I think in particular, generative art tends to have this effect because it's is so focused on pattern and process, and I think it kind of inevitably stumbles across some of the same patterns and processes that naturally exist in the world around us.
yeah, makes sense. Well, I guess the next question would be, what's next? What's got your goat right now? What are you curious about? I know Logan shared with us that you recently moved into a new studio in Austin.
Yes.
How's it been?
It's wonderful, honestly. For most of my days as an artist, I was working out of my bedroom or my house, or like sharing somebody's garage with them.
Mm.
Literally at one point, like my studio had rats that lived in the wall, and yeah. I didn't. My
Wow.
studio mate told me that, and I honestly didn't believe him until one evening I was working kind of late and turned around and I could see like the little eyes like glowing from this hole in the wall. So yeah, true story. But this new studio is like a significant upgrade, and mostly it's really nice to have space for things like plotting, right? So one of the devices that I work a lot with is something called a plotter, which is kind of a
Yeah.
simple mechanical drawing process. You put a pen or pencil in it, and you can give it instructions on what to draw. And now I have the space to have quite a large one and a nice smooth surface for it, and also plenty of space to do things like prints and paintings and everything else that needs to be done at the studio. So this is one of the things that I'm particularly grateful yeah, to be able to work in a studio like this these days is really amazing.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you. Um, At this juncture, I want to invite anyone who's in the audience who maybe has a question for Tyler to request up. Toward the end of the AMA, we do have a POAP for today's event, so we'll do that by a secret word. I'll walk you through that in a bit, and let's also make sure Tyler, you're collecting POAPs?
I get offered POAPs a lot. I really don't keep up with them as much these days. It's just like more than I can keep up with. So I appreciate all the POAPs that get offered, but I don't really do a good job of collecting them.
Yeah, no problem. Before we go to Henry with a question, another thing I wanted to ask you, and this may be very difficult or very simple to answer, I don't know, but obviously
Sure.
you've had a very personal experience, based on timing, your own interest, in computer science and all the rest. You've sort of found a niche for yourself. I end up interacting with a lot of not just young in age, but fresh artists who are interested in the NFT space and trying to develop a collector base. And obviously the environment is very different than it was almost a year ago when you released Fidenza. What is your temperature on the NFT space right now, and like what are the behaviors? Yeah, I think this is a good question. Like what are the behaviors you'd like to see artists doing to try to build their profile and their relevance, I suppose, in the space?
Sure. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think the thing that's always like most crucial and most central is for the artist to focus on the artwork itself and to make the artwork as good as they possibly can. You really can't skip that step, and it's the hardest one. I think whatever you can do to study, to work on your fundamental skills, to learn about art history, to learn about artists that inspire you and influence you, and to try and develop a philosophy of your work, and just to build that richness in the work. All these things are really, really important, and you can't really rush them, unfortunately. But I think if you do that, then everything else comes much more easily. The other thing I would say is just to find your scene. Find where the people are that are going to enjoy your artwork, or that you're going to enjoy talking to every day, right? Like the NFT world is like a very social experience, and I think you're going to be part of a conversation with these people day in and day out, and I think it's really important to find the people that will understand and appreciate your work, and that you'll be able to have a thoughtful dialogue with, and a positive space as well is important.
So can I ask Tyler a question?
Of course.
I'd like to know how you're gonna spend your weekend at VeeCon, because for the people here who don't know, Tyler is one of the speakers at VeeCon, and I'd love to know because I'm sure your speaking time is going to be limited to not a huge amount of time, but then you have the rest of the quote unquote weekend to experience VeeCon. Have you thought about what you're going to do, or you're sort of just in and out?
I'll be at VeeCon for quite a bit of time. Definitely looking forward to it. I mean, there's just such an incredible group of people that are going to be there. That's probably what I'm most excited about, is getting to meet some of these people that maybe I've only gotten to interact with online, or people that I really look up to. So I'm gonna, honestly, a fair amount of my time will be hoping to connect with some of those people. Definitely going to be listening to the talks. I need to plan out my strategy around that. Don't know exactly which ones I'm going to go to. I'm gonna try not to party too hard in the evenings. Gotta stay rested.
But you're gonna come to the VeeDao event, right? To
yeah, we have a Thursday night. We have a Thursday night event for the community at a bar lounge, and drinks are on us.
We won't hold it against you if you say no.
Okay,
but we'd love to have you there.
Yeah, send me the info. I think there's also an Art Blocks event on Thursday, so I might be double booked. But send me the info, and I'd love.
Ours is the evening. Ours is like after the VCon event. We're starting it at 10.
Okay. Excellent. I mean, I'd love to see you there. And then on Sunday, I'm doing I think it's a 2-person panel with myself and Snowfro, aka Eric from Art Blocks.
Nice.
So that, interesting. Which is going to lead me to my next question: is can we get a little alpha? Has there been any potential talks about a Tyler Hobbs Fidenza gift goat NFT?
Oh, Cohen.
Gift goat? What is a gift? I don't even know what a gift goat is. So.
That's the right answer.
Are you so? Yeah. By the way, he actually got me, and then when you said, I was like, oh, he's good. So Snowfro did the VCon tickets, right?
Yes.
So Gary, one of the NFTs Gary has is a gift goat, and so what happens is you get 6 physical gifts and 6 NFTs that come with those physical gifts every year for 3 years. So you get 18 gifts in total. They just did gift number 6. And most of the NFTs that have been produced by very well-known artists. So it wouldn't be out of character for you to be in potential conversations as being one of the gift goat NFTs.
You wouldn't happen to be like a gift goat like holder or whatever, right? Like
I'm not, but I know a few people in this room that are. Just to let you know, the most recent gift coat that they did, the physical, was a custom Johnny Walker V Friends bottle that they only made, and there's only 555 gift coats, by the way. So I'm trying to snag myself one of those bottles.
Yeah. Man, I mean, nobody's talked to me about this yet. I don't
Would you be open to that if they did?
I don't know. I'm not gonna make any promises.
Well, he's good. By the way, Logan's in the background, like emailing him or texting him. He's like, "Don't say shit. Don't say anything."
Yeah, Logan. Before we pass to Henry, I'd love to just say hello to you. Thank you for being here, firstly, and if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself as well.
Yeah, hey everybody. Just looking through Twitter, trying to put up some cool posts that are relevant to the conversation. Can't wait till VCon. Tyler's speaking, so he can't party hard, but that doesn't mean I have to follow suit. So come and find me. I'll see y'all there.
Yeah,
awesome.
So yeah, I'll send you all the info, Logan. I'm hoping to see both you guys, and we'll get a little we'll have some fun.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Yeah, Logan's awesome. He kind of skipped the intro on for himself, but I'll give you a little background on him. He's part of my team, and he's been helping me, since everything blew up with Fidenza, and actually even before that. There's so much that goes into getting your artwork out there as an artist. So many different places to try and share it, and then there's an awful lot of communication that comes back in the form of email or things on Twitter or Instagram or Discord, and Logan's super crucial part of helping me stay on top of all that, and wonderful guy to work with as well.
Nice. Just a quick follow-up on that, Tyler. What was the blow up like? It's almost the anniversary of Fidenza. I believe it's June 11th. And
yes, that's correct.
I don't know if you have any big plans or special things going on that day.
Yeah. Oh, I mean,
airdrop.
Not planning an airdrop, but definitely planning something special for the Fidenza birthday.
Cool.
It's easily the craziest year in my life, right? The most change at the fastest pace. All sorts of stuff that happened that I never would have thought possible, right? Like, I don't know, Snoop Dogg tweeting out my artwork, or just everything that happened with Fidenza. Just watching it every day, something new kind of blew my mind, and I definitely felt like Alice in Wonderland a little bit there, kind of questioning if things were real, and even though it's like a hugely positive event in my life. Anytime things are like changing that quickly, it can kind of freak you out a little bit. So
sure,
it's taken some time to like adjust. A little bit after Fidenza came out, I think several weeks after that, I took a month off just to kind of let it sink in a little bit what was going on, and I'm handling it a little better these days. I'm a little more accustomed to it, but definitely grateful to have people like Logan there to help navigate all the interesting things that have come up during that year.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned that, specifically the balance needed, especially in this space where trading never stops and projects never stop dropping, and there's always something to anticipate. In our Discord server, when we launched, we have a dedicated mental health category, and we have moderators that are dedicated to that. So like, there's a public channel where if you just need to let off some steam or talk to someone, that's there. And then we also have a private helpline, which is basically a support ticket bot, but it's like a private channel between you and those moderators if you need that. And I wonder if you could speak to it a bit. Like, was there a moment where you realized, like, what was I imagine it may not have happened all at once, but where was the moment you realized that this was going to change your life forever, and how have you balanced that effect?
Yeah, absolutely. No, I definitely remember, the initial sale of Fidenza was like a pretty amazing on its own, but a couple of weeks later, things just started to go, up and up and up, and it was getting much more attention and publicity, and it honestly, it like freaked me out, because like I mentioned earlier, I don't really like being the center of attention all that much, and so just becoming more publicly visible was definitely like a stressful part of that experience. And one thing that's really interesting and unique, I think, about the NFT space is how public all of like the sales numbers are, right? Like they're very upfront, right? Like it's everybody's watching the numbers for buys and sales, and it's just like such a roller coaster. So for me as the artist, this was intense, and it didn't even I wasn't at risk, right? Like I wasn't going to lose anything in this process. But for people that are getting in there and like buying and selling these works in like a very volatile environment, I can only imagine that it could be like intensely stressful. And I'm so glad to hear that y'all have some of that mental health resources set up, because it's just not an always an easy environment to be in. And I'm just glad that taking care of your mental health in that way is being acknowledged and normalized, and it's just such an important thing. So that's wonderful to hear.
I also want to have just a little follow up. So you mentioned about the sales and the activity that goes on. I was actually going to segue to that question, because I know Gary and the V friends and the community, the floor is a very common conversation that a lot of people like to have in projects. And I'd like to get your perspective or view or your opinions on how your community discusses the floor and how you, because actually it's even interesting. Like from almost like a week ago, your floor went from like 40 ETH to 70 ETH.
Sure. Yeah.
So like it's crazy. So I'm just wondering how your community discusses it and handles it, and how you sort of handle it.
Yeah, that's a great question. I'd love to talk about that. So, yeah, first of all, and I talked to Gary a little bit about this during our interview. I think it's really, really important as the artist to mentally separate yourself and distance yourself from those numbers, right? Like the market numbers don't reflect the quality of your work. As I said it then, Fidenza opened at one price, it sold for another price a few months later, sold for a completely different price another couple months later. There's all that movement, and it's still the exact same artwork, right? Like nothing changed about the quality of my work, only the market's changed. And there's so much in the markets that's out of your control as the artist that you just can't take those things personally. It's just gonna beat you up, I think. There's so much ups and downs and volatility. So I try to personally, mentally distance myself from looking at things like the floor price. I'm sure that some of my collectors do look at those things, but I think I'm fortunate that overall the collectors of my work are really appreciating the artwork, and that they're there for more long-term reasons. That they really believe in I think the quality of the work, and aspects of the work being important for its time and place and role in this environment. So I think sales numbers and floor prices and things like that are fortunately not as important within my scene of collectors. And as the artist, I also choose not to try to do things to change the floor price. I'm not gonna,
yeah, it's smart, because Gary comes out all the time. He's like, everyone in the community, the VeeFriends, will go up, it'll go down, and then people will be complaining. And he keeps explaining to people, like, listen, I'm not concerned about the floor, because the project is the project.
Right.
And the minute that he has to bend to the community's discussion of the floor,
right,
is the minute that he said VeeFriends is dead.
Right.
He says when that day happens, that he has to, change it, the way he behaves on the project because of the floor, is the day that he's done with VeeFriends.
Yeah, which I think is a really wise take on it. I mean, it's just not the most healthy or productive part of the project for you to be concerning yourself with, right? It's like it's prone to so many outside factors. It's prone to this like day-to-day volatility. I think it's much more important for the creator, for the artist, to do things like help to, I don't know, document and explain their work, to do things like, working on their next project, to continue to improve their work as an artist. All of those things are much more meaningful uses of time than being concerned about something like floor price, in my opinion.
Awesome. We do have a few folks on stage, so I want to pass it around. And for anybody who's waiting for the POAP, we'll do that in 10 minutes. Cryptones, give me just a moment. Henry was up on stage first. I'm going to throw to you, Henry.
Hi, thanks, Jeremy. Hi, Tyler. I had a question for you. As an artist who moved from obviously analog art into digital art, how has that changed how people interact with you, or people look down on it? Is it the cool thing in the space? Just what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, wonderful question. It definitely puts you in an interesting space to transition between those two, because at least I've felt this in my work, that when I started making generative artwork, it kind of had this hybrid feel of like painting and generative style. At that time, I think a lot of the generative work looked more, I don't know, like computer graphic-y, like I'm going to use the term screensavery because I lack good words to really describe it. And so I felt like my work didn't really fit naturally in either the traditional space or in the kind of digital and algorithmic space. But I think I've been very fortunate that I've been persistent with that stylistic blend, and people who appreciate that have kind of like found their way to the art, or over time it's just been able to connect with them. In general, I think there's a really interesting dynamic between kind of the analog art world and the digital art world. I think the people with that are the real influencers and have the real sort of power in the traditional art world don't view digital art on the same level. That's not true universally, absolutely, but it's just for many reasons it's just not as well supported or discussed. And NFTs are really an important shift in this dynamic. I think it's the first time that digital artists can reliably support themselves as an artist by selling their work. That just was so difficult to do before NFTs. And so I think what you'll start to see now is really a rise of a whole generation of digital artists that are actually able to support themselves and really just focus on creating their best work. I think that's super important because these days we spend so much time in digital environments. Like that's probably at least the majority of everybody's day is spent in like a digital environment, whether that's working or during entertainment. And so to me, it's super important that we have artwork that occupies that same space, that works with those same tools. So I think there's a really strong case to be made for digital art being even more important and relevant than painting is right now. But I think it'll take time for that shift to be really fully reflected, within sort of the art world and more broadly within kind of culture at large.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for the great question.
Nice. Thank you, Henry. Cryptones, go ahead.
Hey, Tyler. First off, I just want to express how much your art means to me. I think you're one of the greatest artists of our generation. You're like a contemporary Mondrian, Miro, Pollock, de Kooning, Kandinsky, Rothko. Someone who honestly is going to be written about in 100 years from now by art historians. I really believe that. I mean, your art really means a lot to me, and I know it means a lot to a lot of people. So I don't know if you get that all the time, but I know that all of my friends, all my community, we just are obsessed with Fidenzas, and so I just wanted to first say that.
Thank you so much. That's so kind of you to say. All those people are my heroes, and I mean, they set the bar for quality of work super high, and I really aspire to create work at the same level as them. So hearing you say something like that, it's just so kind. Thank you very much.
I really think if I had the money and I was faced with buying a Miro or a Fidenza, I would buy a Fidenza. And I just think it's just transcendent what you did. And I have a question about, us small collectors who can't afford Fidenzas. Is there any thought about, releasing other maybe collections? You don't want to, of course, dilute the existing holders, but new project. And I apologize if you already talked about this. I got on a little bit ago, but for more of the the general small collector who just got priced out of Fidenza in the first round. And
yeah, sure. Great question. It is really tricky. I mean, I want my work to be available to be at the very least, enjoyed widely. And so this is something about NFTs that is really a strong thing in favor of them, in my mind, is that the artwork is totally publicly accessible and it's free for everybody to enjoy equally. This is kind of like the, I don't know, the positive spin on the right-click save thing, right? So one thing I am happy about is sort of regardless of what price the market decides my work is at, that's at the very least everybody is free to look at and enjoy the work. And for similar reasons, I like to work on murals. I have a few projects coming up involving murals. I really like the idea of having artwork out in the public space for everybody just to enjoy as part of their everyday life. And I definitely plan to continue doing that. In terms of making things available for sale, I don't know. It's tough. It's tough to say. Like you said, there's some complicated considerations there. First and foremost is always on my mind. The quality of the work. I'm thinking about how can I make the most effective work? What's the most effective way to show it and distribute it? And I might if the project is the right fit. I definitely could see some more accessible work getting out there. I thought it was really neat. For example, what Dmitry Cherniak did with Dead Ringers, which was an open edition NFT, and he used those funds to raise money for, I think, a food bank in New York City. So I thought that was a really neat move. But go ahead.
So you don't mind that, for example, Fidenza 838 is my background on my phone, like, even though I don't own it, you don't mind?
No, not at all. Not at all. I don't mind that.
Awesome. And one other quick question, which is a little technical, so feel free to, just gloss over it. But there's a lot of academic literature in the legal community about the status of generative art in terms of copyright, who owns it, who doesn't. Have you put any thought into that, and who owns your Fidenzas, and how much of the process is you versus the machine?
Sure.
And by the way, I just want to say, I think it's you, obviously.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the product that you made is it should be considered Tyler Hobbs's, but I don't want to see the law go in the opposite direction. So just want to know how much visibility you have on that.
I haven't heard a ton of discussion about that. So I can only kind of talk about my opinion rather than what I've read. I would say, you could take the view that, I'm writing software, and which, I basically am. So ownership of the software would be very similar in my case as in other types of software. It is a collaboration with myself in the computer, in the sense that it's a crucial tool that I could not make the work without. But I haven't heard anybody make a compelling case that generative art, along the lines of what I do, has questionable authorship. Maybe only among sort of highbrow, art critics or art historians. Maybe once you start to get into things like GAN art or like AI produced artwork, then it's a little more questionable, because what was the data set that was trained on? Who wrote that software? A lot of the artists that are working with GANs and things like that didn't necessarily write all the software themselves, or at least not the super central parts of it. So there is probably a little bit more of a blurry line, but I feel pretty safe about the interpretation for something like Fidenza, for example.
Yeah. So and last little point, I don't want to take up too much time, but so there was a case in California federal court called Naruto v. Slater, and it was this monkey like took a selfie.
Oh yeah, I had heard about that. Yeah,
yeah. And there was a question of who owned the copyright of the photo, and the court ruled. Well, PETA intervened. PETA said it was the monkeys,
right?
And and the owner of the phone said it was his. And in fact, it turned out the court said that it was nobody's. Nobody owned it, and that only human-made art, can be copyrightable.
Oh.
And so the implication is that if it's AI generated, for example, which I know yours is not, but or if it is machine generated in a complex way, that it could not be, it might not be subject to copyright.
Okay.
So
I had not.
I'm a lawyer,
so
you know, if you ever have any questions on this type of stuff, you know, please hit me up. But thank you so much again. I really appreciate it. And thank you, VeeDao. VeeDao, thank you so much for this. This is amazing.
Yeah, really.
Thank you for being here.
Fascinating connection between those two topics. I had not linked those. I'd heard about the monkey case, but had not connected that to you know, sort of computer generated art as another form of like non human produced artwork. Interesting.
Yep. I can send you some articles. I mean, there's a lot of good, interesting law review articles, but it's starting to make its way. It's just going to become, this is an issue that's going to become increasingly more important as generative art continues to grow.
Yeah, I'd love to read more about it. Please do send that my way. I would appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Cryptones. Big Mall, you are up next.
Hi, it's Mallory.
Hi, Mallory.
Or Big Mal, whatever you want to call me. I am not big, but anyways, I saw your name, Tyler, on the Twitter Spaces, and I had to jump in to listen to whatever you have to say, because I think that I'll echo what everyone else says. I think that you're fabulous.
Oh, thank you.
And I didn't lose my job, but I recently, like, our company is selling, and so basically I'm not needed anymore. And once I got into the NFT space and learned more about you and art plus code, all that kind of stuff, I'm an engineer for a living. Anyways, so when I learned more about this and I was looking at your website and where you actually like thoughtfully explain how everything works, I was like just light bulbs glowing everywhere.
Wonderful.
So I'm taking these like 12 weeks that I have off to learn JavaScript and processing and like actually starting to make things, and it's so cool and it's so fun.
Wonderful.
And I just wanted to like give you like a virtual like high five. I'm a 35-year-old mom of 2 here in the city going to look at birthday party stuff.
That's wonderful.
I just had to say hi and thank you so much for all the inspiration. And I'm so excited to like create, and everything that you say is really thoughtful about thinking about color and putting your own spin on it. Like, I'm just your basic white girl, and I think that I actually could like bring something fabulous to space, but with baby steps.
That's so cool. Thank you so much for the kind word. Did you have another question or
no, my question is more like personality based. What is your favorite Seinfeld and or Curb episode?
Favorite. So I've watched much more Seinfeld than I have Curbed, although I do like both a lot. Let's see.
That makes me really happy. I can't be friends with people that don't.
I know it's tough. You know, I was just giving Pine, my studio assistant, shit about his George Costanza wallet. I'm actually looking at it right now. So that episode is up there for me, but I don't know, like the Frogger high score one. That one I like a lot. Of course, the marine biologist. It's tough. It's tough to say. What a wonderful show.
Yes. Anyways, it's mostly just to say thank you for the inspiration. Like, I'm actually using my free time to learn some cool stuff.
That's wonderful.
And it's the summer of Mal is what I keep telling everybody.
I love that.
Now that I have the summer off, it's awesome.
I love that. Actually, I'd love to talk about that a little bit. I think this is something that's really wonderful about generative art and algorithmic art and other forms of computer-based art is that it's really starting to open up the opportunity for people from more technical backgrounds to create wonderful artwork. I mean, there are so many people that have amazing technical skills, but they never, had the opportunity to learn how to, I don't know, work with paint.
Or they don't have good taste and they make screensavery things.
Yeah.
Like I think that's the issue. Like I'm really good at spreadsheets and can bang around on Excel all day, and this is somewhat similar, but it's just a bunch of nested if statements that loop around, and it's so cool. Anyways, I'm really excited to one day make something, and it probably no one will ever know about it and won't ever sell. But
hey, if you enjoy making it, awesome. That's the important part.
Yes, it's very fun.
Absolutely, and I want that type of artistic expression to be, much more accessible. And I'm really excited for all the people that are growing up with both, right? People that are growing up seeing, processing and generative art, and are studying painting at the same time.
It's free. It costs no money.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you have to have a computer, and that's really it.
But quite accessible, and I think it'll just be really fascinating to see what the next generation that grew up with all this stuff, what they're able to do.
Yeah. Anyways, I hope that you have a lovely day, and
thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Yes. Oh, have a fabulous rest of the week.
Thanks, you too.
That was fantastic. I'm here for all of that. Tyler, I know we have you for an hour, so please let me know.
Yeah, I do have to run here pretty shortly, so that might be a good one to end on, unless you had any closing thoughts, maybe.
No, I'd like to give you the last word. Is there? I know you have a lot going on. Is there some way that we can support you, or otherwise, what would you like to leave us with?
I mean, I'm guessing I'll see a lot of y'all at VeeCon in just a few weeks here. So
absolutely,
I'm looking forward to that as much as anybody. Other than that, just keep being in it for the artwork. Keep that as your focus. I think that's one of the most positive aspects of the space, and I think that's it.
Cohen, is there something you wanted to jump in with?
Yeah, there is. So a few things I learned from Gary is, sometimes taking your small little shots. So I know I've mentioned this before, so I'm still going to shoot my shot again with you. Is when you have free time, what are the odds we get a blueberry?
A blueberry?
A blueberry made.
I don't know. Is this like some lingo from like the VeeFriend space?
No, it's so in our community, we for a time when we have artists that come, so we had like Dapper Dinos come, and Varvara LA, and they've always made us their own, like a little personal piece that we keep in our DAO's vault that we never sell. And I'm wondering, I know you're busy, but if there's an opportunity where you may have free time, and since our mascot is a blueberry, you could just make a Tyler version of a blueberry. It doesn't have to be a Fidenza, clearly, but just a Tyler blueberry.
Would you accept a JPEG of a hand-drawn blueberry?
100%.
I might just send you that. I can't.
If you made the blueberry, then we'll take it.
I'll email you a photo of a hand-drawn blueberry. Later today.
Perfect. Thank you, Tyler. I really appreciate that.
Thank you so much for taking the time, Tyler. It was really awesome to have you, and and we'll see you in Minneapolis.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for all the wonderful questions. I had a great time, and looking forward to seeing y'all as well.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Bye-bye.
Great. Take care. I know we had some folks on stage who wanted to ask questions. I imagine they were for Tyler and not us up here. But Chris, would you like to say hi and maybe share what your question was? Chris P.
Thanks for having me up here. Yeah, I'm also a generative artist, so I just love being in this space and seeing it all blow up. Thanks for having Tyler up here and getting to explore his thoughts, and thanks for having your guys' spin on. It's been so invaluable.
Thank you. I'm curious, as a generative artist or as a human, what was your
Oh man, too much, way too much. Basically, just honestly, I mean, before generative art kind of blew up as a term, people like us were just called creative coders. And so it's been fun. It's been really illuminating, I guess you could say, seeing the rest of the world finally shine a light in this dark corner of the universe of people who create code with art. And so that's why I'm saying thanks for having this space to just. But as far as Tyler specifically, I guess just hearing his unique process, because every artist has such a specific process. So yeah, thanks.
Awesome, super cool. Thank you for sharing that. We're gonna go around the stage really quick, so everybody can go onto their days, should they please. We do have a POAP, so in order to claim the POAP, you'll need the mobile app for POAP, and if you open it up, I'm gonna do it with you right now. You open it up, in the bottom right-hand corner, there's the button that says Mint. You tap that, and the top option is Secret Word. Tap that, it will open up a field for you. It says Mint to POAP, and enter your secret word. And the secret word is 2 words. Capital. I'll say the word, and I'll spell it for you. It's 2 words. Art block, with a capital letter at the beginning of each word. So capital A-R-T space capital B-L-O-C-K. Art block. So there should be plenty for those in this space. No need to share it in all the POAP Hunter channels. I'd like to, we've got a lot of POAPs in the VeeDao. We're talking about some different kinds of activations, raffles, and things to do with them. So it's really great if we can keep them to those who are here. So again, go to your POAP app, go to Mint, hit secret word, and it's 2 capitalized words, art space block, capital A-R-T space capital B-L-O-C-K. And I hope you enjoy it. Cohen?
Do we mint this blueberry JPEG?
It'd be better if he minted it, but
that's not gonna happen.
You should ask. You should.
I don't think he has a collection because he can't put it part of the Fidenza.
He could, but he won't.
Yeah, I think it would devalue the. You have all these and then a hand-drawn blueberry.
I think maybe just ask him to sign it, and then the VeeDao can mint it, I suppose. But
yeah.
Make sure you ask him before you do that.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Honestly, it'd be kind of cool if he didn't mind to mint it and airdrop it to holders. But maybe that's a bridge too far.
It is. I think it's a lot to ask for someone. Most people, especially if they're artists, they're very particular when they create art. They don't want to dilute their brand, and so I'm grateful that he even entertained it.
Of course.
I mean, this is like asking Gary if, like, hey, can we get a piece of your art? And he's like, you know what? I'm going to doodle for you on a napkin and send it to you. I'm grateful.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to shut down the Twitch stream now that the show is over. But Javier, go ahead and take the mic.
Thank you so much for being here, everyone. Thanks for watching the playback. And this was a VeeDao AMA with Tyler Hobbs, the creator of Fidenza, generative artist, and all-around good person. So hope you enjoyed it, and see you next time.